Today we're going to review how to find the whole or total when given the percent and the part. So this would be an example where we know you got an 80% on a test. We know that you got 18 questions correct. We need to know how many questions there were on the test total. So for these problems, you're given the part, which would be like the part that you got correct, and the percent. So the percent that you got correct. To solve a problem that's missing the whole with a W, you use a double number line. Let's see if we can fit this. Or a ratio table. Remember, I showed you the two different ways you could do it. Whichever your preference is, you can use. So when we do a project or a test on this, whatever one you like better, the double number line or the ratio table, you may use. They both are basically the same thing. Okay, so the first thing that you would do is create a double number line. Okay, remember that's going to look something like this. Just two number lines stacked on top of each other. Or a ratio table, remember that would look something like this. You can make it into boxes, or you could just put like that little like T-chart. That's fine too. Okay. So double number line, ratio table. Then we'd place the percent in approximately the right place on top. Okay. Oh shoot, I forgot. So label the percent on top. And then if it's like a word problem, you'd want to put like whatever the label is. So like if you're doing a test, it would be like the number of questions or how many miles, or whatever the label would be. Okay, in a ratio table, we would do the same thing. Since we're just setting it up, this is just going to be our number. Okay, number for like our part and our whole. Okay. Yes, that's a number sign, not just a hashtag. Then we're going to place the percent. So like, let's say we're told that we got an 80% on our test. 80%, that's a little bit farther than halfway, but not quite to 100%. 80% would go here. 100% is what we're trying to get to, whatever that answer is would be down here. Okay, now if we use a ratio table, we're going to just put the 80% right away at the top, at the first one, because that's what we're given, 80%. And let's say that 80% is equal to 20 questions. Or no, I said 18, I think. 18 questions. So then we put the part, the number that's the part, on the bottom. So 80% was equal to 18 questions, so we line those up. Remember, we can either do two different like hash marks, or we can connect them if it's easier for you to like know which number lines up with which number. In a ratio table, we'd put the 80% with the 18. All right. When we're doing a double number line, we count by an equal interval. Or what you can do is multiply, and I'm going to say or divide because it depends on what number we're given, to get a number that'll get us eventually to 100%. All right, then we create equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing it down to go back up to 100%. Or if, let's say, like it started at 10%, we could go straight to 100% by multiplying by 10. So it really just depends on the numbers you're given in the problem, whether we have to go down and then go back up to 100%, kind of like we were doing with those fractions when we were missing the percent. Last but not least, we're going to find the equivalent ratio that goes under 100%, because that's going to be our answer, because percent is out of 100, so the total or the whole of percent is 100, so whatever number lines up with the 100% would be our answer. Okay, so let's do some examples, because I know that this was kind of hard to follow since we didn't have an actual example to follow through. You're competing in a free throw contest. You make 6 free throws. You make 20% of the free throws you attempted. How many free throws did you attempt? Okay, I'm going to start this first one off with a double number line. If you chose to use a ratio table, same thing, because our process should be very similar. All right, we've got percent, and then we've got free throws. You make 6 free throws, which is 20%. 20% I'm going to guesstimate is going to be right around here on a number line, because remember 100% would be here, 0% would be here. Whatever goes under the 100% is going to be my answer. So I'm just going to put a big circle. That way when I'm done with my double number line, I don't have to go through and like think like, okay, which one of these numbers is my answer? It's just very obvious to us. 20% was equal to 6 free throws. 0% is equal to 0. We want to know what 100% is equal to. Two different ways we could do this. We could count by 20 is 20, 40, 60, 80. Count by 6 is 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Or you could have like skipped out these whole steps and gone 20 times 5 is 100%. So 6 times 5 would give us 30 free throws. Okay, so our final answer would be 30 free throws. Okay, so that's how we could use a double number line. If you're starting to get the hang of this, always you can pause the video and try to do some of the work ahead of time and then resume the video just to check your work. It's up to you. All right, we're taking a test. The progress bar at the top shows you've answered 8 questions and it says that's 40% complete. So think about that little like bar that shows you like how many questions you've answered out of how many are total, like on a CMAS test or something. That's what we're talking about. So you're taking a test, progress bar shows you answered 8 questions and it's 40%. So for this one, since I did a double number line up here, I'm going to show you the ratio table. When I do ratio tables, I don't make the boxes. I just feel like it just takes extra time. But if you want to set up those boxes, you can by making it like a big round rectangular box. We have our percent on the top, and these are questions on the bottom. You could always write out, sorry, my voice keeps cracking. You could always write out the word question or just put Q for question. We are given 40%, which is equal to 8 questions. We need to get to 100%. And then whatever's down here will be our answer. However many questions is equal to 100% is however many questions are on the test. Now, we cannot go from 40 straight to 100. So this is one of those examples we have to go 40 down to something to then get it back up to 100. There are multiple different ways to do this. Just like with those fractions, I like always getting everything down to 10 if I can, because I think 10 times 10 is just an easy way to get to 100, and multiplying numbers by 10 is easy for me. But if you wanted to get 40 down to 5, you can get 40 down to 20. You can get 40 down to 10. There's so many different ways you can do it. So just because I'm going to get it down to 10 does not mean that if you already did this problem, you had to do it that way. Okay, as long as we end up at that same answer at the end, that's all that matters. To go from 40 to 10, I divide by 4 because 10 times 4 gets us to 40 if we were to go backwards. I can divide 8 by 4, which would get me down to a 2. Now, super simple to go from 10 to 100. That would be multiplying by 10. I would do the same thing on the bottom. Whatever I do on the top, I have to do the bottom. Same thing, whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do to the top. So since I did 10 times 10, I'm now going to do 2 times 10, which is going to give us a final answer of 20. Okay, so this answer would be 20 questions on the test. All right. Go ahead now, if you haven't paused yet, I want you to pause the video and I want you to try this third one on your own now that we've kind of reviewed it a little. You can use that double number line or a ratio table. Either way, we should end up at the same answer. 18 of Miss Lakin's students have an A in her class. 60% of her class has an A. How many students does she have in her class? So we want to know how many students are in her class total. So we are missing the whole. I'm going to again use a double number line just to kind of show you how we would do that. And then for the last one, I'll use a ratio table again. Set it up with our percent. And then this would be students. You could just put an S or put students. We want to get to 100%. Whatever's under the 100% is our answer. Remember, we can always connect those lines if we're having a hard time lining them up. Over here, we'd always start at 0%, and that's equal to 0. It says we're at 60%. 60% is a little bit more than halfway, so we're going to put 60% like right here. It doesn't have to be perfect, just like a good estimate. 60% was equal to 18 students. Okay. So now we think to ourselves, can we go straight from 60 to 100? No, we can't. Okay, so let's start thinking of some numbers we can go down to. If we divided it by 2, we could go to 30. But 30 can't get us to 100. But once you're at 30, you could always get down to like 10 or 5. Okay, so there's so many different ways to do this. That's why I can't give you all the possible solutions. The way I always try to do it is, can I go down to 10%? Okay, going down to 10% would be dividing by 6. And I can divide 18 by 6, so I'm going to do that. Could have also gone to 20% divided by 3. 18 can also be divided by 3. So, like I said, many different ways you can do this. I just like getting down to 10% because it's an easy way to get back up. 18 divided by 6 gives us a, let me erase some of this, a 3. Okay, now I can go from 10% to 100 times 10. I would do the same thing with that 3 times 10 to get me a final answer of 30 students. Okay. Again, try this one on your own. I'm going to show it in a ratio table, so if you want your work to match mine, you can go ahead and start setting up that ratio table. I like going across because then you don't run out of space ever. We have percent. Foxbridge basketball team won 80% of their games this season if the team won 12 games. So these are going to be games. How many games did they play? So we're starting off with 80% was equal to 12 games. We want to get to 100%. No, we cannot go straight from 80% to 100%, so we're going to have to go down to something first. Many different ways we could do this. You know I like to start trying to go to 10%. So to go from 80% to 10%, now don't write this down, just follow along, I would divide by 8. But here's where I run into that situation where I can't divide 12 by 8, so I'm not going to be able to go down to 10%. So let's try another one. I could go down to 20%. That would be dividing by 4. And I can divide 12 by 4, so that's what I'm going to do. You could have also cut it in half and gone to 40 and then gone to 20, if that helps you, just like cutting it in half to see if you can get to a number that goes to 100. That works as well. Divide by 4. Same thing with my 12. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. 12 divided by 4 gives me a 3. Last step, I have to get that 20% up to 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. That would be 5 times. Same thing on the bottom. Multiply by 5 on the top. Multiply by 5 on the bottom. This would mean, I don't know why that's doing that. There we go. This would be a 15. That would be our final answer. So they would have 15 games total. Which makes sense, because if 80% was 12 games, it would just be a little bit more, since 80% is almost to 100. All right, so that is what we do when we are missing the whole or the total. We use double number lines or ratio tables to get to 100% and see what number corresponds with that 100%.